Shalom, first and foremost, I want to give our praise, honor, and glory to the whole Bashimi or Shaiba Shimra Kakadash. I give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well sound doctrine, and peace and blessings to your elect. No, this is I just was inspired to do a lesson based on a little interaction I had with a lady that I know. So I wasn't really doing grocery shopping and such, but um, I just finished doing some exercise, in the gym. Because the gym is near to like this shop known as Aldi. So I just jumped into the Aldi and I was looking to see if there was anything I could pick up. I was looking for some stuff. And I found what I was looking for, and then I was like, yeah, I could go with this. So yeah, I just picked it up because I just seen that it's something that, as I said, it's something I could use in the house because we never had any in the house. So I'm walking around now and I see this lady. I know now this lady. She knows the truth. She knows the truth. But it's kind of like one of those things where, as as the element as I will say, don't be picking a piece here and a piece there and a piece here and a piece there and try to mesh it all together when all these different places you taking a piece from my teaching completely different things. Right. So I'm in the shop, so I'm picking up some scallion. I'm looking at some apple cider vinegar because we use apple cider vinegar for cleaning sometimes in the house. So well, I don't know if we use it for anything else, but I know we definitely use it for some cleaning. So starting off with the scripture. Ecclesiastes 7:16. Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself overwise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself? And that was her basically is going into it. No, of course. There are indicators as to when something is good, when a food is good, like for example, fruits having in seed, etc., 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 things of that nature. So the conversation was going like this, basically you can imagine, she was telling me, oh, you're not, first you started off with the vinegar. You're not supposed to drink vinegar, per se. You're not supposed to put it inside your body. No. For I can speak for Caribbean people. No, we use vinegar, not apple cider vinegar as such, but we use vinegar to clean meat. We use vinegar to clean meat. Not really so much. I don't really know about drinking still. Like maybe apple cider vinegar, maybe yeah, you can drink that. But as a whole, so she was saying have alkaline water, but here's the thing. As far as I'm aware, vinegar is acidic. So I don't know about alkaline vinegar. So that was the first one. As I said, it's her sister in the truth. She was telling about some stuff. So we was talking. So she was saying so she was basically saying have basically take make sure the fruit has in seeds, which again that's a good indicator of fruits. Fruits supposed to bear seed and things of that nature. However, what I was pointing out, where we live in a country like England, for example, although even when the fruit has in seeds, it will still be defiled just because of the type of nation that we're in. And you're not. It's not as if it's not as if you're growing all these things yourself. You're not growing all these things yourself. Like I believe it was the elder master Zachbar was going into it at one point. Like I can't remember fully, but I think someone was going into it saying for example, I think it was a beard brush that someone said had boar fibers on it, and this thing had in such and such, and this thing had such and such. Elder was basically saying, well, the things you can, you may not be able to control all things, the things you can control, the things you can do to the best of your ability, do them. But obviously it won't be, it won't be everything, because say you don't manufacture, you don't make, and you don't produce the stuff. That's why it's important to check the ingredients of stuff to the best of your abilities, and make sure you're praying over your food. 'Cause I remember my uncle used to work in a bread factory, and they used to put, and I remember him telling me they used to put ingredients. I believe it was some pork ingredients into I don't know if it was to bind it. I can't remember fully, but he said he used to put pork basically used to go into there, which it will be nothing new. To brothers who are in the truth, I mean, even to general people, it won't really be anything. But I was thinking, she was basically going off on all these different things. But I say this is why the scripture says don't be overwise, because that's where you get people say, well, you're not supposed to be eating the chicken because the chicken eats worms and we're not supposed to eat worms. Or all right, next one, or we're not supposed to drink water. We're supposed to drink H3O, because this water has and all this extra stuff. All right, going down, being not righteous over much. Wait, okay, yeah. Let me just finish here. Being not the 17th verse, being not over much wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou destroy before die before thy time? And and the 17th verse can be applied to various different things. One thing is, for example, just thinking before a situation, like for example, although this may not directly relate to what we're talking about, agree with that adversary quickly. And one common situation is when you have police, police enforcement, or just regular police, and basically they're saying just turn your engine off, or they basically want to conduct a check, and then you are spending time arguing with the police officer, right? The police officer may be having a bad day, and you arguing, choosing to start argument instead of just, let me just do what you're saying to do, and let me just comply the best I can, so that I can basically get out of my way. You decided to argue with for example, the police officer, as we just said, has now given him a reason to say, okay, I'm miserable today. He could be miserable. I'm miserable today, so I'm gonna make sure you're miserable. And that's how you have, for example, some people die in these situations because they don't use wisdom. They wanna, for example, they wanna start a conflict, and you have to understand, in that situation, you're not the one in the position of power. The police is the one in the position of power. So, as the scripture says, agree with thy adversary quickly. Just comply just comply with what's going on in that situation. Cause remember, I believe the scripture says a soft word turneth away anger. I believe is that in Proverbs or Psalms? Sure. Yeah, Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer turneth away wrath. So, for example, imagine as we're saying, they're saying, just produce your license, or just produce ID. Why have I got to produce ID for? I've already had a driver license. Did I run? Basically trying to just did I run a stop sign? I wasn't speeding. Just say, all right, no problem. Here's my driver. Can I get my driver license for the glove compartment? Okay, here. Okay, no problem. Anyway, obviously, not saying, not saying some of these Edomites and the police force won't give you much grievance, and will give you, I won't try and take your life, but don't give them a reason to, is what I'm saying. Try and use wisdom when it comes down to this situation. But grievous words stir up anger. So if you're gonna, as I said, if you're gonna try and be difficult in that situation, it's only gonna give them a reason to try and make your life difficult. But jumping back at this precept just before, this is Ezekiel 4:13, and the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. That's why I said, you cannot be 100% sure about the food, because we don't grow up. You can't be 100% sure about the food unless you're in one of those countries where where you are growing your own cat. You have your own chicken pen, and you're growing your own stuff, for example. But Esau has done even with growing your own stuff, Esau still did an extremely good job in driving in, I want to say, Asian the earth, or driving the earth out of its youth, or just defiling the place. So everything is not, what's the correct word? Say everything is tasting worse than it could have. Because this man has gone around and is really just, in the time that the Lord has given him rulership, he's destroyed everything he makes contact with. He destroys everything he makes contact with. Because ultimately, that's just his nature. And that's why I was saying to her, in the shop when she was, pointing out various different things. Listen, these, even the packet that you're picking up to show me, you can't be 100%, you can't be 100% sure of it, because as I said, it's a packet you just picked up. No, it could be a better option, right? But you can't be 100% sure of it, because again, we know the craftiness of Esau, and we know the kind of things that he can do. So that's why it's always important to, read the label, the best of your abilities, and pray over your food, as I always say. But I didn't want to make this one long. This was just off the back of as I said, a conversation I had with someone in the shop, and that's why don't be over righteous, don't be over wise. That's why other pastor, don't be too deep, be one deep. Because people think everything that sounds deep and intellectual is intellectual. I could, it's like I could say, oh, for example, everything started off as I don't have an example off the top of my head, but not everything that sounds deep will be deep. Some of the people they need to realize that. But anyway, as I said, I didn't want to make this long, so I want to in closing, I want to give our praises and glory to all Bashim Yoshai, Bashim Kakadash. Until next time, Shalom.